watching The Last Airbender on Netflix, and so that's been... Whew. I actually like really bad movies, just it's so entertaining. Like watching someone fuck up that bad. It's like watching one very long 2-hour fail video. You're not here for that. So I'm here to make a spring dress. It is the time of the changing season. The winter has left us behind, and this depresses me because I live in Austin where it is very hot, and I am a cold northern boy who needs to be able to cartoonishly lay down in a pile of snow and melt through it into a human-shaped hole. Okay, small tangent. While looking for that photo, I found this cartoon called Street Sharks. It's about a team of anthropomorphic sharks who, you know, solve crimes and the whatnot, and oh my god, it is wow. That's gonna have to be a video in and of itself someday. But that's fine, I've made my bed, now I didn't make the bed actually. Anyway, we're making a spring dress today, which I am very excited about, because I love floral pattern. Florals in spring? How original. So in my last dressmaking tutorial, I had an idea for a dress that did not come to fruition. So my plan was to originally go with this black fabric with these lovely roses and flowers that I could sew onto the bodice itself. So I still have those flowery embroidered bits, and I'm going to actually use them today because I want them out of my office. They're always there. I always keep them out because I think, oh, I'm gonna use these in my next dress. And then I move on to the next dress and I find a bolt of fabric at a thrift store and I'm like, okay, well I gotta use that now because I have this fabric and it's taking up way more space than these flowers. So they've just been sitting on my desk and I need to get rid of them, and so that's what I'm gonna do today. Spring has sprung. Okay, so because I'm a very bad teacher, I have already gone ahead and cut out all the pieces and sewn them together. And so I'm not going to be showing that on camera, but what I will be showing you is, in general, just kind of how to do it. You're just going to have to accept that, because that's the way of it. Life is hard, and sometimes you just gotta eat a whole lemon, just shove it down, shove it in your mouth, chew it up, and swallow as best you can. Rind and all. Okay, that's very bright, wow. So I know there's like light pouring onto my head and it makes me look a little godly, actually. But I'm gonna run through how to make a pattern really quick because every time I make a dress tutorial, I never actually show the pattern. I always use a pattern that I've already used, that I already have on hand. So the pattern that I'm gonna be making on this dress form is not actually the pattern that I'm going to be using for the dress in this video. But I'm gonna show you how to make a pattern anyway, just so you'll have that in your repertoire. To make a pattern, you will need a dress form, or honestly, you could just do it on yourself too, as long as, you know, you don't let the pin stab you. A sheet or some sacrificial piece of fabric, pins, scissors, and a marker. Also, I'm just going to be narrating this in post, so are you ready recording, Jodie? Oh, fuck yeah, I am. Great. Let's go. You're gonna start with pinning the fabric to the dress form, making sure it's tight. Then draw your design directly onto the fabric, going with the curve of the dress form. Now cut your drawn piece of fabric out, making sure that it's still pinned to the dress form itself. Repin to the form tightly if needed. Now repeat that process for your side piece. The fabric should be transparent enough that you can see the line of the front piece that you're going to be cutting against, and you can just trace over that. Now cut that piece out. Now repeat that process with the back side piece and the back piece. Use the gaps in the dress form itself to make an informed decision on where you should cut, or who you should vote for in the next election. Label the pieces front, side, and back, just to keep organized. Now keep in mind, you only have to make one side of this, because you could just flip this over when you're actually cutting out the pieces, and there's your second piece, you know, just super easy. Okay, so here are all of our pattern pieces. We have front, side, backside, and back. You may be wondering why this one is so much different from all of the other ones, and that's because we don't believe in segregation. Now, but in all honesty, I cannot find the pattern piece for the side of the dress, so therefore I'm just using one I already cut out, because I am not nearly as professional as I had first thought I was. Start by folding your fabric over and pin your pattern piece down, connecting it to both sides of the fabric. That way when you cut it out, you'll have two pieces for your lining and bodice. Okay, so I dropped a pin somewhere on the ground and I don't know where it could have... I really need to find it. It was in the hem of my jeans. If you don't have scissors, just cut it with your fingers. Until you have this. So this is actually two pieces that I have already sewn together. What you're just going to do is flip that over so we have an opposite piece matching it, and cut that out. More finger cuts. Okay, so we've got all our pieces cut out. Now I've gone ahead and I've sewn the lining of the inside to the outer bodice, and then we're just gonna flip them inside out. So you're gonna wanna make duplicates of the side piece, back side piece, and back piece, so that they can be over here on the other side, and you won't just have half a dress. I didn't do that with the front piece because the front piece is symmetrical, so that's all I have to say about that. So this fabric frays a lot, and so I have my handy dandy vacuum out just in case, so I can vacuum it up really quick and my boyfriend won't ask me to leave the house again. Hello. Hello world, it's me, Professional Jodie. I just turned you off. I put on this shirt to look a little more professional, but it is not going with the color code of my outfit. As you can see, I have an ironing board. My boyfriend made me do this because he doesn't want me ironing on cardboard anymore because he thinks something terrible will happen, but like what could possibly go wrong? Now, I attempted to iron the seams before sewing it, but no. I opted to just pin the pieces in place as best as I could while getting it as close to the seam as possible, and I mean, it turned out fine. It was pretty painstaking and time-consuming, but ultimately it was just easier than ironing. Hello. I'm having cheese and crackers for lunch, and possibly wine. Just kidding, I'm not having wine. It's 12:30 in the afternoon, and wine time doesn't start for another 30 minutes, so.
I kind of hope that you can see me in the background sharpening the weapon I will eventually murder you with.
I don't know if you can see this, but Shane's in the bathroom sharpening the weapon.
Oh my god. Fuck off.
That he will eventually murder me with. You know I have to bleep out that F word, Shane. You're gonna get me demonetized, and then where are you gonna get your sweet YouTube money? Don't tell my boyfriend, but I'm using the ironing board as a sewing machine. And I say don't tell my boyfriend even though he's literally in the bathroom right now and can hear every word that I'm saying. But this worked out wonderfully. Go team.
I don't like that you just told no one on the internet I'm in the bathroom.
I think my boyfriend wants me to clarify that he's in the bathroom sharpening a tool. You're welcome. Wait, did you say no one on the internet? Now sew the pieces together as close as you can get them to the edge of the seam. And I mean that, as close as you can get them. This will come back to bite me in the butt. So if you watched my last video, you know that I tried to take credit for the back and forth thing to end the seam. Apparently I learned that has a name. It's called anchoring, and literally everybody does it, and now I'm ashamed. Also, a special apology to Makara Tours, who I said probably doesn't do this. I'm almost certain she does now. Okay, oh my god, ow. Forgot there were pins. This is the back piece. This is the part that will go around the back of our arm, and then the backside piece will meet and continue underneath here. We need to make sure that lines up correctly, so I have my pattern that I'm using. We're gonna drape that over and just measure out to where that back arm piece will meet, if that makes any sense. I know I explained this last time, probably much better, so just refer to that video. Roughly right there is where that's gonna meet, so right at the end there. Perfect. I am 100% here for this sewing table slash ironing board. Because it's covered in fabric and I can just like stick a pin wherever I want when I'm done with it, it's perfect. Makes it a little precarious for ironing, but like what I said last time, I don't iron. Oh no! Something terrible has happened, Shane. So I did a bad thing. So I've sewn this up, but the problem is, when I sewed on the last piece, I sewed it the opposite way. And so now we just have this seam sticking out where a seam should not be. It's quite literally the worst thing I've ever done.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
So the truth is, I do this at least once on every single dress that I've ever made. The problem is this is so difficult to put in place because you have to push the seam out all the way and then sew it up. It's so frustrating. But seriously, it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing I could possibly imagine. It's like spending 4 hours in a room with Guy Fieri. Ugh. Okay, so we've reached an issue. I did not take into account the seam allowance that I would need for this process, because usually I'll give about 1 inch of seam allowance and then just sew up on, 1 inch in, and then attach the lining and the bodice separately so that each form their own piece. This one though, I sewed all of the pieces together and then flipped them inside out, and then it just sewed right along the hem. I'm filming. So I did not give myself a lot of room for mistakes, and unfortunately I've made one. So I pinned a zipper on and tried it on. Everything is fine until about the waist, and then lower than that, there's a problem. There's about 2 extra inches I need around my buttocks, and so I don't know quite what to do. You know what we should do? We're gonna sit down in our thinking chair and think. Okay, we're gonna add some extra fabric. So what I decided to do was make 2 triangular pieces that I could sew on to the back ends, and that would at least give me enough allowance where I can sew it closed to the back. I sewed 2 of those pieces together and then flipped them inside out just so they would match the rest of the dress. It was at this point I went on a Tolkien-esque journey to make dinner, which was chicken biryani, and I thought it would be interesting to share my experience with everyone. Okay, so I'm cooking dinner for my boyfriend because I want to live the housewife fantasy and convince him that I'd be good enough that I don't have to go to work. And oh my god. I'm making chicken biryani, which is very complicated, I'm learning, and oh my god, look how many steps there are. So this, I marinated this, I have that, there's this, there's that, then we have crisp onions and rice and all that stuff, which was in that bowl, went in there, I don't know. I'm confused and I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to make this housewife dream come true if it kills me or burns down the house. I burned the onions, which the recipe specifically told me not to do. So for the onions that I burnt, I think I'm just going to add some fresh onions to make it balance out because I'm pretty sure that's how cooking works. Gordon Ramsay is going to kill me. This was $25 and comes in a little drug baggie. Look at you, you little expensive fuck. Also, it's a traditional Indian recipe, but I'm using these giant American thighs with all the GMOs and everything, and so I'm adding like 5 extra minutes to the time it cooks, and I don't know if that's right. I don't know what I'm doing. Someone help me. I have a friend named Irene who I took an Indian cooking class from, and I'm pretty sure she might be watching this, so stop laughing at me. Help me. I need you. So I finished it, and I don't know if it's gonna poison my boyfriend, but we'll see. I did not. We were fine, and it was actually kind of delicious. Also, I know that was a lot, so take a moment and breathe. Breathe. Oh my god, I did it again. Look. Seam. No seam. Seam. So I've been using an orange thread on the entirety of this dress so far, and it doesn't really matter because you're not seeing it underneath, but we've reached the point where I have to have some exposed thread on the dress because I'm sewing up the zipper. I do not have any black thread that would match this, but I do have shiny purple. I would use orange because, oh, okay, let me spin you a yarn. I have an incredible aversion to changing out the thread on my machine. I hate it, I just want a never-ending threaded machine. Constant thread forever, and will change magically to the color that I need. Is that available? It sounds like something that would exist in a Disney universe, and that is the universe that I want to live in. Speaking of Disney, I do not like any of the live-action Disney films that they've been making recently, but I saw the trailer for Mulan, and oh my god. This might sound a little culturally appropriating, but watching that trailer made me want to wear all of their outfits every day, all the time. Okay, I'm gonna sew this because that's just what I gotta do in a vague attempt to convince people that I'm a professional. Nope, we're not done, sorry. So, I added some little darts on the bottom, as you can see here. It's very visible because this fabric is kind of reflective, it catches light very easily, but it's better this than my other plan, which was to cut up the dress so it would just be at my regular waistline. I don't approve. And sew that zipper on, baby. So I have this thread that I'm very guilty about throwing away. I shouldn't feel guilty. I mean, it's done, it's almost there, but there's still a little bit left. Oh, look at that. And I could use that for something, but I need to learn to let go. In the words of Disney and Frozen, let it go. Gonna miss you, little buddy. You did some good work. Remember the good times. So I just put on some pants, some actual big boy pants, and I felt something very strange nuzzle up against my areas, and oh my god, I just found the side piece. Now clean up and vacuum because your boyfriend has told you unironically that he will make you leave the house if he finds one more thread. For the bottom, I just fold it inside of itself and make sure everything looks nice and nothing's warping, and then sew it up. So this is day 2 of the dress. Yesterday I pinned this up, now I'm gonna sew it together, I'm gonna sew on a skirt, and then I'm gonna sew on all of the floral pieces, and I think it's pretty much done. Okay, so I've stitched at the bottom, that's where we are. The whole bodice is for the most part done, except for the flowers and floral patterns, of course. I'm gonna stitch this to the bottom. What do they call a fishtail when it's that high up on my thighs? I don't know. I'm gonna call it a fishtail anyway. And I'm gonna stitch this on. Oh shoot, did I just rip it? I'm gonna stitch this piece on before I stitch the flower embroidery. they just went all over the room. And I'm doing that because I want a little bit of overlay onto the skirt so it flows and it feels connected. You okay? My dog's apparently a heavy smoker. So that's where we are, that's what I'm gonna do. So 3, 2, 1, go. So the skirt, I sewed up the sides and I flipped it inside out so that the part that you're going to see, the face of the skirt, I'll call it, this, oh my God, this is very confusing. Dress inside, outside of the skirt right here, and up against it. I safety pin the skirt into a ruching kind of pattern so that when you flip it inside out, number one, there is no seam, and also you'll get these lovely ruches. I'm not gonna iron them down because I just think they look better sitting as they are. If I'm honest though, I'm just terrified of irons and anything that will, you know, get hot. Oh yeah, I'm making a dress. Sew on the skirt so that the pleats don't get too ruffled and smashed. Okay, I've reached a point where I'm ready to pin on flowers, so this is just mostly getting the design all together. I put it on the ground earlier and kind of, you know, mixed and matched and put things places and did some stuff and rolled around in it and got hurt by the pins. So that's where a lot of the design has come from for this. So now I'm just gonna place things and kind of see how they fit. So an enormous amount of this is just guesswork, and I did not end up going with my original design. I actually just kind of did it on the fly on the dress, but so what I did was just pin it into place and then just hand sew very loosely, getting it all on the bodice itself, and then I can go over it with a sewing machine later. Oh, and yes, I know that this it is very time consuming, but I'm assuming most of you are in quarantine, so, you know, you got a minute. Ready, and leg down. And leg up. Oh, a lie. I have something to tell all of you that I've actually been holding back for a while. I am not Australian. My coffee's been like sitting out since 9 o'clock this morning, and it's 3 o'clock now. Is it too late to drink it? It's fine. So I'm looking at this dress and I'm fully realizing this is supposed to be a spring look. It looks like Morticia Addams would wear this. I've got most of the flowers on the bodice now, and I think she is lovely. I'm so happy. I'm so happy with how this turned out. Most of the pieces that I had mirrored pretty perfectly. I want to add this part here. I have not sewn this on yet, this is just pinned. The only problem is, I have 2 of these pieces, but they are not mirrored. They are the exact same. And that's an issue when it comes to having one on either side. So I just don't know what to do about that. I'm just gonna put it on. I'm just gonna put it on and we're gonna hope and we're gonna cross fingers. And we're gonna pray to Vivienne Westwood that everything will work out. Here's a fancy shot of these flowers. Ooh, aren't those nice? And oh, look right there. There's another one. Wow, they just keep coming, don't they? Ooh, oh, ah, ooh. Now use your machine to sew those flowers in place. I'm using a sewing machine, but you can use any machine that you like as long as it works. After that, I measured the skirt and saw where I need to put the hem, and then I sewed the hem down. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know why this shot is going on so long, but I mean, hell, that's what we got, so you're welcome. This is my friend Twiggy Bellaflora and Fauna. He's always wanted my wood, but he's been barking up the wrong tree for years. I just can't stop making tree puns.